Hi, thanks for joining me today. Have you ever wondered what's in the inside of a flower? Spring in upstate New York is a wonderful time. As you're walking around outside, you start seeing these bright spots of color popping up everywhere. Those are flowers. Apart from their beauty and how good they make us feel looking at them, flowers are essential for plant reproduction, and they allow for many of the foods that we love to eat. So I created this video to give an introduction to the wonderful world of flowers. My name is Lori Koenick, and I'm a 4-H educator with Monroe County Cornell Cooperative Extension. In this video, I want to just do a brief introduction into the different parts of a flower, and then talk about how you can practice identifying these flower parts at home with your families on real flowers. So, okay, we're going to practice learning about flower parts here using this lovely diagram, and then we'll get to use we'll practice on real flower examples. So, all flower parts have these basic parts. So here you have the petal, which is the bright, colorful part of the flower that serves to attract pollinators. You have the sepals, which are these they look almost like little green leaves at the bottom of the flower. They serve to protect the flower as it's developing, when it's still a bud. Then you have the stem. This supports the flower, and this transports nutrients and water to the flower. So, digging a little deeper, all flowers have male and female parts. The female parts are collectively called the pistil. And the pistil is made up of, you see the stigma, that's the top of the pistil. It's sticky, and this is where the pollen lands and is received during pollination. Next is the style, which is the middle of the pistil, and then at the bottom you have the ovary. This is where seeds are produced once there's pollination. And then the seeds, so when you plant the seeds, you get a new plant. The male parts of the flower are collectively called the stamen. So you have the stamen is made up of the anther, so the top part of the stamen, and this is where pollen is produced and stored. And then under the anther, you have the filament, which supports the anther. Pollen is the plant male gamete, so it's essentially like plant sperm. And this is a good time to bring up perfect versus imperfect flowers. You've probably heard these terms before. A perfect flower contains both the male and female parts in the same flower. So this example lily we're looking at is a perfect flower, whereas an imperfect flower has the male and female parts in separate, different flowers. So let's look at some real plant examples. Here you see 3 pictures of flowers that are blooming all over Rochester right now. So I have a Japanese cherry blossom, a daffodil flower, and a Lenten rose flower. These are beautiful flowers, and I challenge you to try to find them next time you're going on a walk or looking outside the window. So let's use cherry blossom as our first example to practice identifying those flower parts. So first, you see here we have the stem. You can see there where the orange arrow is pointing, which connects the flower to the branch. Then you see the pink, those bright pink petals. That's what cherry blossoms are known for. The Japanese cherry blossom is actually produced for ornamental purposes, so it's grown for its beauty, unlike some of its closely related other cherry trees, which are grown for food production. So there's the petal, and then you see the sepal there, the yellow arrow, protecting those developing flower buds. And there is the stamen. So you see a bunch of little stamens surrounding the one pistil. So this is a perfect flower. And you can see just the one pistil and the stigma, that yellow ball there. And with the stamen, you can actually see the red top part is the anther, and the filament is underneath. And next, another example we can look at are daffodils. These beautiful flowers are all over upstate New York right now, and they're known for their classic trumpet shape, those bright yellow petals. So let's try to identify those parts. So we see the stem is right there. At the yellow arrow, we see the petal is yellow, that bright yellow petal. And we see the sepal at the tip of the red arrow. Again, this looks like daffodils are perfect flowers. They have both the male and female parts. So I see 6 stamens surrounding that one pistil. And you can see just the top parts of the male and the female organs. So just the stigma and then the multiple anthers. Daffodils have also a new organ that we haven't talked about yet. So ironically, it's called the corona or the cup or trumpet organ. So that orange part is actually not related to petals or sepals, but it's its own different organ. And just a flower safety tip, I recommend wearing gloves when handling or harvesting flowers. In general for all flowers, but specifically for daffodils, they actually produce a toxic sap that can irritate if it gets on your skin. And this is actually a reason why gardeners love them, because that toxic sap deters insects and small animals from chewing on the flowers. So rule of thumb, just wear gloves to protect yourself, or just take pictures, then you don't have to wear gloves at all. And speaking of taking pictures, want to take a moment to talk about some wildflower ethics, or just flower ethics in general. So I highly recommend, please take only photos and leave only footprints when you are exploring nature and looking at flowers. So here you can see an example. I was taking a picture of flowers a few days ago looking at cherry blossoms. So I urge you to take only photos, leave only footprints for a few reasons. First, you want to avoid disrupting the ecosystem. Flowers are an essential part of any ecosystem they're in. Animals and insects rely on them for food, for their seeds, for their pollen, for their nectar. Continuing from that, we want to protect our pollinators in particular. So specifically bees, when they emerge in the spring, they don't have much food to eat. They just rely on the pollen and the flowers. So we want to preserve their food source. We want flowers to be enjoyed by all. So animals, including humans. So if we all harvested all the flowers that we wanted to, then there would be no flowers left to look at. So please leave them in place. And wildflowers are fragile. So even if you're looking at a beautiful flower and you want to put that on your kitchen countertop, I promise you it will not look the same. Many wildflowers will wilt and perish pretty soon right after being harvested. And if none of this convinces you, harvesting wildflowers can actually be illegal depending on the flower. So last thing to convince you. So, and if you want more information about this, the U.S. Forest Service has some great materials out there about wildflowers and wildflower ethics. So you're ready to start looking at flowers and identifying their flower parts. If you're like me, you probably want to know the name of the flower that you are trying to identify its parts. So there are many resources out there for flower ID, species identification. There are tons of apps, there are guidebooks. And today I just want to talk about 2 resources that I use. iNaturalist and Seek are 2 apps that I use all of the time. They are user-friendly and they are free. So both of these apps, you can download them on your phone, or you can use them in a web browser, and they allow you to make observations. So to actually take pictures of different plants and record them. They help you with identification, and they also compile all of this data into one place so scientists and other interested people can access that data to learn more about where different species are occurring. So Seek was developed, Seek can do pretty much all that iNaturalist does, but it was developed by the folks at iNaturalist to be a kid-friendly app. So the difference with Seek is it doesn't record specific observation data. So it doesn't record where and when you are taking photos. So this was done to protect kids, but Seek can be used by all ages. I highly recommend it. So I actually use Seek to do all of the identifications seen here in this video. Seek is a great convenient starting point for identification. So I like it because I don't have to drag guidebooks with me every time I go out into the woods or on a walk. So I can conveniently take a photo, get an ID, and then I use it. And then when I get home, I double check it with other sources. So let's take a quick walk through Seek. So what you see here are screenshots from my account in Seek. So Seek allows you to make observations and keeps track of them. So an observation is when you get an organism down to species level. It will ID if it has trouble IDing higher, getting down to species. It will give you a genus or a class. It will do the best that it can, but typically it's pretty good at getting down to species. Once you've made that observation, got that ID, it gives you some more information about the plant or what you're looking at, which I love all the information. I'm a detail-oriented person. Another cool feature is it is location-based, so it can tell you other plants that have been identified nearby. You can try to find them. And also it's not limited to plants. It works on animals, insects, mushrooms, all types of organisms. And the cool thing about Seek is it gets smarter the more people that use it. So the more people that use it, the better it gets with its identification. Lastly, it's fun. It has these different challenges. So here's a citizen science challenge for April, and where it challenges you to find 10 species that you haven't recorded before in Seek. I'm about halfway through that challenge. So speaking of citizen science, if you're curious about citizen science and you've never tried it, but you're curious and want to start, this is a great time. April is Citizen Science Month. So what is citizen science? I like to call it community science. I think that's a more inclusive term. It truly involves scientists and any curious person of any age to get involved with science. So with different projects, and could be asking questions, collecting data, interpreting results. There's a wide range of projects out there. You could do bird watching, insect ID. You can even help NASA identify new planets. Tons of projects out there. I list 2 great resources here. The New York State 4-H page has a great list of different citizen science projects out there. Definitely urge you to check it out. So thanks for sticking with me if you're still watching. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please check out our other resources, Monroe County 4-H Youth Development. We have a website and we're on all social media. So thanks. I hope you have a great day and happy exploring.